Welcome back to the channel, guys, for the last video here from the IFCA Fin World Championship in Wiedesande. We've already had plenty of good racing action in up to 40 knots on the first 2 days of racing. And this video is going to be the last one from this competition. And as you saw in the last videos, I was really fighting to make it out of the qualifying heats and onto the next round and into the A and B final. If you want to see how that went, check out the first videos. But today we're going to fight one last time to advance into the next round. But first up, we're going to do another C final, because as you saw in the last race of the last video, I made a really stupid mistake crashing out in a qualifying position of my opening round. So I got to do another C final before we can fight again to make it out of the first round and get some better places. Currently sitting in 24th position overall, so I'm really looking to improve on that and maybe even get into the top 20. Let's see how the day goes. So we're jumping straight into action, into this C final. And this C final of Elimination 4 really felt cursed. This is probably the 6th or 7th time that we tried to run the C final. We tried it the day before in the last video 2-3 times. One time the guy crashed over the board, one time we almost made it, but then the wind died. And yeah, it just took forever. And on the second day here, it also took us, I think, 3 tries to run this C final, just because the wind was very up and down. Like every time a cloud came, before the cloud there was a little bit of wind, they sent us out. The cloud was over us and the wind died. So this I think is the 3rd try of running the C final before we finally made it. And in this try I did not have the best start. I had actually 2 times in 2 starts pretty good starts and was first and second at the first mark in these 2 tries, but in this one, yeah, just how it goes, I didn't have the best one. So it was also super light still, and these are not my favorite conditions. But yeah, let's look at the final. So we're right before the start here, and I'm checking my watch to kind of get a better start, but I was also not super motivated in the C final because I already had a 1st, 2nd and 4th position in the C final, so I knew this was probably going to be my discard or not improve that much on the point, so I was kind of sailing relaxed. The wind was super light, so 20 knots here, crossing the start line a little bit late, and by a little bit I mean like 5 seconds, but in this C final it's actually pretty fun because then you can fight for the places. And yeah, I mean, still beautiful conditions here, sunny, racing with all the guys, and yeah, going like 23 knots, so not super fast. But yeah, now I'm in, I think, 6th position here. Yeah, so just going down to the first mark, and you can see everyone going to the first buoy there. Not much happening on this first leg. No lift in the board. I really need some power to get the board railing and really get the speed up, and somehow I'm not a good light wind sailor, like I'm not that fast in light wind. But yeah, we finally made it to the first jibe mark, so I'm making a tight jibe here, I think. Yeah, kind of get a little bit clean wind with everyone coming behind me. And yeah, just parking at the jibe mark, it was really light. I would say it was around 10 knots here, maybe 10 to 16 knots, something like this, the gusts, and I'm on 8.8, same like in the last video, with a 132 board and a 44 fin. I would have preferred to have like a 46, but I didn't bring a fin that big with me, but this would have really railed the board better and gave me better light wind speed in these conditions. And yeah, I'm racing pretty alone here. Like the top guys were all like lighter guys in this C final because it was so light, the wind. And then I was behind, and the guys behind me, there was like a big gap, so I was kind of sailing my own race in this C final more or less. And you can see someone fell on the jibe mark. Now they're getting back up, and I'm trying to take the inside, but there was no wind. Someone is coming from below me. Also everyone is parking up. Chris also coming and parking up, so it was super on the edge. But I get going pretty well here to get away from the guys behind me. I made up 1 place in this jibe. Now I'm making up another place. So yeah, 18 knots, you can see how slow it is. You cannot really see it on the camera, that's why I put the speed in there, so you can actually tell what's going on. And yeah, 20 knots on a big board is really, really slow. So now the first guys go around the third jibe mark, and now I'm coming into it in 5th position. Everyone is already parking up again, and yeah, again a jibe with no speed. Yeah, so I'm really struggling to get out of this jibe here, just pumping and pumping. And for me, I have to say this is even more exhausting than a race that is like fully windy, because you have to pump and work with your body so much to keep the gear flying. I really prefer the conditions where it's a little bit more windy. I love the big gear when it's like 15 to 20 knots, then you can really make it fly and just rail the big board the entire time. So I really like to sail kind of the big gear a little bit overpowered. Now in this reach I have a little bit of like free wind and a little bit faster here, 24 knots. Coming into the last jibe mark, but there's really not much I can do because the top guys were all 10-20 kilos lighter than me in this race, and I was just not going around the jibes. But yeah, out of this one I was coming out pretty well. You can see another kind of cloud is rolling in, so that's why we had a little bit wind here to actually be able to finish the C final now. That took us really forever. You can see behind me there's really no one coming, there's a big gap. To the front of me there's a big gap. So now I just finished the race in 5th place, which I knew would be my discard. So here we go, the first heat of Elimination 5, and another chance for me to get through to the next round and into the BRA final. And yeah, I'm racing here with some top guys. Like on the bottom of me you can see Tati Franz on the other 0.7 sail, then on the blue GA sail it's Ingmar Dahldorf, and then below somewhere there's also Bruno Martini. But it was not such a stacked heat because there were some top guys, but below it was pretty manageable to make it into the top 5. So I actually have a better start here for once. I'm only like 1 second late and I'm on top, so I can really push. Still a little bit slow with only 20 knots. The wind kind of stabilized from the first heat of the day, so there's a bit more around now. As you can see, it's also more sunny, so the wind kind of cleared up, and you can just see what speeds these PWA guys below me are going down the first reach. They're so fast, it's incredible. They have their gear set up so well, but I have a really good position because I'm sitting on top of all the other guys. So now I can just go downwind and kind of push out the other guys. And now something interesting in this jibe is happening, because you can see someone is below me, but in my mind they are behind me. And the rule is, if they're more, like if our boards are not overlapping, I have the right of way in the jibe. So I'm going downwind here, but he's trying to take the inside, so I had to pull back to avoid a crash. But I'm really not sure, maybe you guys can let me know who was in the right here. Because in my mind, when I was initiating the jibe, I was clearly in front of him and he would have had to avoid me. And yeah, just by avoiding him, I missed out on this place here. So now I'm in 5th position and coming out of the jibe pretty badly because he messed up my radius. But yeah, I'm really not quite sure. And yeah, now you can see the guy below me, he made also a tight jibe. So now I'm in the unfortunate 6th place again, just outside of the qualifying places. And I was so angry now because I finally wanted to get into the top 5 and I felt that I was in the right here in the jibe. And I just pulled back to avoid the crash, and I really wanted to make it into the next round finally and not get stuck in like 6th position again and just outside of the qualifying places. There's also like the guys behind me are super close. And now I make a really tight jibe here to squeeze on the inside, which gets me out of the planing mode. But the positive thing is that I can take away the wind of the guy who was in front of me, and he cannot get planing while I can pump out and get planing again, and that's how I managed to pass him in this jibe. So every jibe you have to kind of analyze like where are the other guys and then make a decision what is like the tactical move to make in the jibe. And I think this is really what racing comes down to here in these conditions, aside from the start. And now I have clear air because there's no one on top of me, so I can just go to the next jibe mark. I also told myself to like enjoy more the racing and not like stress so much, and it worked to some extent. So I was feeling a little bit more free in my mind for the racing in this day. So coming into the next jibe mark, I Wanted to make a really tight one so that no one can like pass on the inside and get me the same way I got the other guy on the inside, the guy from Spain. And yeah, it actually worked. I was not planing through the jibe, but I kind of closed the gap and got planing first out of the bunch of guys on this jibe mark. And now I'm just accelerating down the course. And you can actually see the guy from Spain, he has not given up yet on the qualifying places, and that's always where the battle is in these heats, is if you're like in 4th, 5th, 6th position, like if you can squeeze inside the top 5 or not. So I'm trying again here to not mess up the jibe. I think it was actually a pretty decent jibe, yeah. So I was planing through it, and yeah, I think now the guy from Spain was under a lot of pressure and he crashed his jibe. So at this point, also the guy on the Severn fell, and the 0.7 didn't even realize until I saw that now that they all crashed. But yeah, now I can kind of just cruise home the race because there's a really big gap behind me and I'm in 5th position. So I'm just super happy that I finally made it into the top 5 while I was thinking in part of the race that I would not make it again. So this was really, really a great moment for me that after like 5 eliminations that I finally managed to reach my goal. Pretty late in the competition, but yeah, pretty cool moment for me. So unfortunately, I used the camera to film like 5 of the heats of the C final that we didn't manage to get through. So my battery was already super drained. So unfortunately, this was the last footage I have from the IFCA, even though we ran a couple more heats. So what happened next is the semi-final. And in that one, I knew that I was pretty much not going to make it into the A final because the top guys in the semi-final were all PWA guys, and it would have needed a huge mistake from them that I make it inside the top 5 there. So I think I finished in 8th in the semi-final. And then in the B final, I actually was really happy with my result because I managed to take a 5th place and raced really well. I wish I had the camera for that to show you. But I think 2 guys crashed out on the jibe, and then I managed to get a good start and also overtake someone during the race to actually make it into 5th. And if you're 5th in the B final, you're actually 15th place. And with this, I was super happy. And then we sailed one more opening heat of the next elimination, elimination 6 I think it is now, and managed to pass Casper just before the finish line there, so that was pretty cool as well. I really wish I had brought a second camera battery to film that, but I'm gonna buy a second one I think for the next races that I will do, so that I will not miss anything. But yeah, finally I made my goal. I managed to pass 2 qualifying rounds in a row, which was my big goal for this competition, to simply get into the B final. I made it a little bit late in the competition, so overall I ended up in 21st place. Goal was top 20, so just 1 place short, but also what I predicted in the first video. If you look at that, I predicted actually that I would take 21st place, so that's pretty funny that I managed to end up just in this position. Of course, I would have liked to finish a little bit higher, but yeah, anyway. I really hope you enjoyed the series here from the IFCA Fin World Championship. For me, racing on the fin is like so much fun, and I really want to do more of these competitions, so I hope you enjoy this format, and I will do more of these videos in the future. See you then. Bye.